Welcome to Gleaning Mustard Seeds with Jerrie Barber. Mr. Barber is a preacher, a ventriloquist, a barefoot runner, and writes 2 blogs. When Jerrie communicates, he encourages people, try not to learn very much. Find a mustard seed. In the next few minutes, try not to learn very much. Look for something you can do to move a mountain, remove a stumbling block, or provide a stepping stone for yourself or someone else. And now, here's Jerrie with this week's mustard seed.
The reflections in this episode were written a year after completing a 3-month sabbatical during the summer of 2000. I've been thankful for the words of Jesus in Mark 6 for many years. Then the apostles gathered to Jesus and told him all things, both what they had done and what they had taught. And he said to them, "Come aside by yourselves to a deserted place and rest a while." For there were many coming and going, and they did not even have time to eat. Mark 6:30 and 31. That passage, along with verses 45 and 46, are my encouragement for Sunday afternoon naps. Since the spring of 1984, I'd been aware I'd like to have more than a Sunday afternoon nap and a week's vacation. My elders at Bears Chapel and I began to discuss a 3-month sabbatical in the spring of 1998, with the possibility of me being off during the summer of 2000. We continued to pray and plan. This was the most helpful gift I've been given in all my years of preaching. Already had 3 meetings scheduled for the summer, 1 each month, and 1 speech at Freed-Hardeman during their 25th Christian Training Series. The elders asked me not to accept any more speaking engagements. The summer consisted of traveling with family, resting, and studying. One of my personal growth experiences of the summer was a week in seclusion. I rented a rustic cabin at Natchez Trace State Park. Leaving home Friday afternoon, I didn't turn on a radio, tape player, or TV until I returned the following Friday. After rising at 6 each morning, I walked a few miles and was reading and studying by 8 o'clock. This continued until about 6:30 each day. Then I took books to a bench beside the lake and read till it was too dark to read. I watched the Big Dipper come out and returned to the cabin to read until 10 p.m. I rose the following day and started again. Some of the delightful opportunities during my extended time off were congregations where we visited. Do you ever get tired of hearing the same preacher Sunday after Sunday after Sunday? If you do, you can visit. I'd been listening to the same preacher for 39 years, and I enjoyed the break. We worshiped and studied with 29 different congregations. The work at Bears Chapel continued in a significant way during my absence. There were baptisms, restorations, people placing membership, and good attendance. Early in the summer, the congregation had the opportunity to buy a house and an acre of land adjoining our property. After a family meeting, the elders decided to take advantage of that. There was a 1 Sunday contribution of more than $90,000 to pay on the property, and the balance was paid during the year. According to our plans, the elders and I stayed in touch by meeting once a month. We informed each other of how the congregation and our family were doing during the summer. Observations on the summer of my sabbatical. The rest and break were valuable. I averaged 8 hours of sleep each night for June, July, and August, and my back and sciatic pains were non-existent. I enjoyed being unorganized during the summer. I wouldn't want to continue doing what I did that summer. I'm more convinced I didn't want to retire, but to change directions in a few years. I like to be organized, to-do lists, time to get up, responsibilities. I could study in general, reading, memory work, and 40 sermons started on my computer. I looked forward to coming back. The time seemed just right. I think I've experienced an alternative to burnout or moving, often from overload without seeing any way out. It's my observation many preachers move because they see no other way for relief and renewal. It's harder to preach for a congregation the longer a preacher stays. Old sermons are depleted, more activities and tasks are accepted, there's less time to do more. The break is a way to start over. I observe that members often go to another congregation for similar reasons. They're active and take on more jobs. They don't know how to resign or rest without guilt. The only way they know how to get relief is to relocate and start over. There's an alternative. Take a break. Some things that helped the summer work well for me in the church. 1, planning. We talked for 2 years before the sabbatical. In January, an announcement was made to the congregation. The elders read a detailed letter at a family meeting in April, followed by questions and answers. 2, repeated communication about what I would and would not do. Some thought this was my time to find another church and I'd resign at the end of the summer, or the church was ready to look for another preacher. The elders and I committed that neither of us would even discuss the possibility of change in our working relationship for 2 years. It was interesting. I received 2 of the most attractive and challenging approaches in years to consider moving soon after we made this agreement. 3, consistent and quality preachers at Bears Chapel while I was gone. John Parker and Jim Bill McIntyre delivered masterful sermons during the summer. I received comments on returning. Jerry, we missed you, but we had a wonderful summer. 4, good leadership in the congregation. Our elders, a fellow deacon, a youth minister, and a secretary handled some extra tasks, and I'm grateful for them. I enjoyed visiting other congregations and telling them of the love and generosity of the Bears Chapel congregation in giving me this time for rest and renewal. There was a pattern. As I introduced myself at other congregations as a preacher, I'd be asked, "What are you doing here? You on vacation?" I'd reply, "The elders and congregation gave me a 3-month sabbatical, June, July, and August." Especially if I were talking to an elder, the following comment would be, "With pay?" I would respond, "Yes. In the Old Testament, the dirt got to rest once every 7 years, and I'm more valuable than dirt." Leviticus 25, 1-5. At one of the congregations, an elder said, "We've been trying to get our preacher to take off for years, and he won't do it." Most preachers thought it was a great gift, but some expressed apprehension that they might lose their job while they were gone if they took off. I'm working on this manuscript at the end of a week in seclusion, much like the one I had last summer. I preached Sunday, arrived at Fairfield Glade Sunday night, and spent an intensive week studying. It was thrilling to have 5 days of uninterrupted time to read, study, think, and put sermon ideas that had been in a cardboard box from 1 to 20 years on the computer. I hope to continue this in the future. This isn't a vacation. I work 13 hours daily. I appreciate my elders, Dennis Crowder, Ron Gamble, Dennis Makins, Mike Norwood, and the Bears Chapel Church for permitting me to recharge, renew, and continue to prepare to work. I look forward to times of worship, my time at the church building, service opportunities, and elders' meetings. I believe our time apart helped keep us together.
Thank you for listening to Gleaning Mustard Seeds with Jerrie Barber. If you found a mustard seed, send a text or email with the link to a friend. This podcast is brought to you in partnership with the Ministry League Network. Ministry League is a global platform dedicated to equipping Christians with the tools they need for ministry, worship, and personal growth. Featuring over 50 podcasts created by members of the Lord's Church, Ministry League provides uplifting and biblically sound content for all ages. Through the Ministry League app, you can access these podcasts, a digital songbook for worship, free Bible study materials, curriculum, and other ministry resources to strengthen your walk with Christ. Don't miss out on the latest updates and podcast episodes. Subscribe to the Ministry League YouTube channel for daily content and exclusive insights into the work of the Lord's Church, or visit ministryleague.com to explore what's possible. Ministry League, equipping you for every good work. Thank you for listening. Jerry looks forward to next week as we continue to collect and plant mustard seeds.